It's been 15 years in the making. Seattle's Waterfront Park is officially opening.
It's really the front door of Seattle.
What was once a collection of shipping piers,
Seattle waterfront in the 19th century, it's the loading dock for the city.
now transformed into 20 acres of new public space.
To create a waterfront for all, to make it accessible, to make it beautiful.
We're looking back at the successes
And make sure that locals see themselves here.
and setbacks that brought this park to life. Hey, thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Mel Thomas.
We're finally here, and I'm Monique Minglovin, and we are so excited to show you the Waterfront Park's massive transformation over the last few years. So, for the next half hour, we are showing you the highlights of this new 20-acre space spanning Pier 66 through Terminal 46. That's basically from the stadiums to the sculpture park, connecting Seattle's cityscape to beautiful Puget Sound. The entire waterfront celebrates its grand opening. That's September 6th. It is going to be a party, music and vendors all day long. And you may be thinking, wait, I thought the waterfront already opened, and you're kind of right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So piece by piece here, developers have slowly opened chunks of the park, but September 6th, that magic date, that marks the official grand opening. So this $806 million renovation started back in 2010 when the Waterfront Seattle program started. It was exploring how they could make a space for tourists and everyone in the city to enjoy. After years of planning, the Pike Place market-front expansion was the first tangible milestone in 2017. In 2019, WashDOT removed the viaduct, which was built back in the 1950s. From the viaduct came Alaskan Way. Pier 58 had to be removed in 2020 after it collapsed. Then, after 2020, operations shifted into high gear. Crews have improved crosswalks, added the overlook walk, and installed public restrooms, all of which brings us to today. So you may have heard a lot of people saying, we should have done this years ago.
Years and years ago. But before we could fall in love with this park, we had to break up with our ex, the viaduct. January 11th, 2019 was bittersweet.
I cried a little bit last night.
The sun setting on this concrete connection.
It's kind of ugly, but it's really cool.
A holdover from the 1950s, the way 90,000 people drove along the waterfront.
Goodbye, and we'll remember you.
It served Seattle for 66 years, but now it has been replaced with this, washing away some of the viaduct nostalgia.
It was dirty, it was ugly, it cast a shadow along the waterfront.
After 6 years of construction,
It's taken a lot to get here.
no more shadow. Let this waterfront shine.
You know, it's been a game changer. We've reconnected our downtown up and down the waterfront. We've created 20 acres of new public park space that didn't exist before.
Now you can go directly from the middle of downtown right to the waterfront. There are 2 new pedestrian bridges. But of course, the boldest entrance is over the Overlook Walk. From here, you can get the best views in the city of the water. And of the water here with this free peek into the Seattle Aquarium Ocean Pavilion. And just steps away, the place to go if you want to entertain your kid. Or just feel like a kid.
I really liked it because it was a little bit faster.
A little bit scary. When you're all the way up at the side, you get to look all over and see the Ferris wheel in the water, and that's kind of cool.
And all along the way, you can enjoy so many beautiful lookout points, different pockets of the waterfront, nooks and crannies where you can just take a load off and relax. You can also find places to really lean into the experience and maybe even take flight or get your energy boost here. And even if it gets messy, there are now these great and clean public restrooms for you to use. The new waterfront where you can go to or through. So kids or adults can use a protected bike lane all the way from Lumen Field, about 1.5 miles all the way to the sculpture park. Concerts, markets, playgrounds, this is the place to be, not drive by. People all over the region stepping foot on this new front porch of Seattle and feeling like they're home. I mean, this is a huge project.
This is a massive program, right? It's one of the biggest projects this city has seen since the 1962 World's Fair.
Yeah, that was when the Space Needle went up Pretty defining addition there. That was timed for the World's Fair, this for the World's Cup.
Pivotal times here, truly on the world stage. One of the most iconic pieces on Waterfront Park is the overlook that Monique got her steps in on. It links downtown Seattle and Pike Place Market to the shore, and the walk spans 100 feet in elevation, making what was once a very cumbersome trek a whole lot easier. Plus, you see 360-degree views to take in Elliott Bay, the Olympics, downtown Seattle.
Now, another one of the crown jewels in the city's new front porch, if you will, the Seattle Aquarium. It just opened an expansion in August of last year, and since then, it has been bustling. The facility was brought to life over several years with a joint combination of public and private funds. Now, the tanks are home to 5,000 animals and plants you can find in the tropical waters of the Indo-Pacific Ocean. In the first year, 1 million people have experienced the Ocean Pavilion expansion, and that is double what they normally see in a year.
We are so delighted that people are finding joy in the experience, sharing it with their friends, and coming again and again.
Yeah, in the first year, aquarium memberships doubled as well.
The new Ocean Pavilion is all about teaching how to preserve the ocean's future. But as Gary Horker reports, Seattle had a strange history with sea life long before the aquarium.
To build the Ocean Pavilion to last for generations, millions of pounds and miles of rebar lining the reef habitat is way beyond what you'd find in tall skyscrapers.
History's literally going up in front of our eyes.
But Seattle historian Felix Bonnell reminds us, long before the real Seattle Aquarium was ever a concept to teach conservation, profiteers lured tourists here to Seattle, and they used sea life to make a fast buck. In the mid-1930s, a post-Civil War era clipper ship was a floating museum where for a dime you were promised a small display of seeing sea life from Puget Sound. Then there was the Frozen Fish Museum, 2,000 fish frozen solid. Somehow this oddball attraction stayed open for 30 years.
Ivor Haglund, famous for his clam chowder and fish and chips. The first thing Ivor did was put in an aquarium.
Long before Seattle showman Ivor Haglund ever sold a single cup of chowder, his big business idea was what he called an aquarium on the waterfront.
Ivor was inviting people to look at like octopuses in a fish tank, and those people he sold fish and chips and chowder to. The fish and chips and chowder came second. First was the aquarium, and it morphed into a business selling fish and chips.
Ivor charged a nickel to show sea life, but Felix said it was a sideshow.
Ivor would do things like take a baby seal and put it in a baby carriage and push it around the city to try to generate publicity for his business.
In 1962, when the World's Fair attracted millions of visitors, businessman Ted Griffin cashed in by opening a for-profit marine aquarium, which took a dark dive in 1965.
Orca, a killer whale, is captured by mistake up off Vancouver Island. It's caught in some fishermen's nets. Griffin buys it, builds a floating pen, tows it all the way back to Seattle. TV stations are doing remote shots from up on Strait of Juan de Fuca to try to get footage of this whale coming to town because no one had ever successfully had a whale in captivity.
They named him Namu. They charged people to watch him caged in a pen in the waterfront. Hollywood filmmakers quickly moved in and made a movie starring Namu as a character. People protested, demanding Namu's freedom.
Unfortunately, before that movie can open to the public, Namu has died of a bacterial infection.
An infection reportedly caused by raw sewage, which was, at the time, polluting Elliott Bay. Having learned from all those dark decisions, Seattle city leaders offered a brand new, better way. Voters approved a 1968 tax to build a real nonprofit aquarium, building a new relationship between Seattle and the sea for the next 100 years.
There was a very strong ethic here in the 50s and 60s and 70s, even into the 80s, to invest money in things that people would benefit from for decades to come. And the aquarium fits right into that mix.
Now, Felix says this new Ocean Pavilion shows how a city can transform an attitude while transforming a waterfront and educating millions of people on the power of preservation instead of profit.
Cities that don't change are the ones that you forget about.
Gary Horker, KIRO 7 News.
Well, park designers carefully considered what the environment would look like. 4.3 acres of the park are just for plants. More than 150,000 new flowers, shrubs, trees, and other plants were added to the space.
And still ahead, the waterfront establishing itself as a place not just for tourists, but a place locals can be proud to call home.
You should see yourself here.
How the city intends to make sure everyone at the park, no matter their age, feels at home.
Plus, a look back in time. The waterfront had a rocky history before it became a park for the whole family.
It's not a place where you think about getting cotton candy or maybe a cup of coffee and walking along with your family.
A closer look at the grimy past that preceded the shining waterfront as we know it.
And as we head to break, how about a trivia question? How many lights do you think are on the gray wheel on Pier 57? The answer after this.